Are we not entertained? Don't remember too many occasions we saw this free-flowing football under Moyes. He'd have low blocked a 1-0 win. Can't wait to hear Smug Will's take on the pod this week. What have you got to say now? Remember seeing football like that under your beloved Moyes? Because I do not. Thank you very much to Mark Scott on Instagram, who replied to my somewhat dour pre-match video that I put up on Instagram. It was sort of mixed in. There's a bit of positivity in there. If you don't follow us already, at We Are West Ham Pod on Instagram. I was just saying that on the way to the game, I was looking forward to seeing the people I liked. And it felt a bit like West Ham of the old days, where the season's sort of basically over already, nothing really to play for. And I was just sort of going because it was habitual, and I wasn't expecting too much. So Mark, absolutely delighted in in giving it to me on Instagram, which I do not mind at all. I made sure to reply and said Ipswich were terrible. Let's not kid ourselves that we played like 90s, 70s Brazil. But I am delighted to finally see us look like we know what we're doing going forward. And that Lopetegui has finally seen sense by putting Super Thomas Souček back into the team. And Mark, how terribly predictable that you'd go with the Ipswich how terribly predictable that you'd go with the Ipswich were terrible line. Can we not settle on the fact that was a good performance with some very easy on the eye football? Well, I'll tell you what, Mark, just for you, I can accept that was a fairly easy on the eye performance. But why don't we do what so many people in society should do and compromise and meet in the middle? And let's agree that in this situation, both of us are right. I think West Ham were good. The football was better. We did look like we knew what we were doing going forward. And I enjoyed it very much, particularly seeing us score 4 goals. But can we also agree that Ipswich were terrible? James Jones, I'm not just going to have a conversation with one of our supporters. That's not going to be the podcast this week. I, of course, want to speak to you. How are you? How are you feeling? Any particular thoughts or reaction to what Mark had to say there?
Well, I'm glad Mark said something. I refrained. I actually called you directly after the game. You didn't pick up. I wondered whether you decided not to pick up because you knew that I was going to be like, "You enjoy that, did you?" Is that what you were looking for? I wasn't. I was just calling to say there was a change of plans. I was going to a different pub.
Right.
You didn't pick up. But I agree with Mark, mate. I thought it was good. I thought it was fun to watch. I don't buy into the whole well. It was because Ipswich were rubbish. I thought we were very good. And yeah,
Ipswich were rubbish, though, weren't they?
I mean, we're going to play. We've already played better teams this season, and we will also still play better teams this season.
I would imagine about 18 others.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I was speaking to a couple of Ipswich fans in the build-up. They were a little bit concerned that if Tuanzebe
local mates of yours in Bury, I guess.
No, doing opposition views for various.
Of course.
I think I did 3 in the end. It was pretty popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all Tuanzebe not playing or potentially not playing in the build-up. Kind of, they were a little bit concerned that might ruin the form that they were building with 4 draws in a row. And our boy Ben Johnson steps in and concedes 4. Good lad. But yeah, I think the only thing that impressed me about Ipswich was Delap up front. I thought he's a useful little striker.
Mustard, didn't he?
We'll get onto that, but yeah, beyond that, they weren't very good. But yeah, I thought despite that, I thought we were we played really well. And at last, we scored the very early goal, and we weren't conceding it, which is a very bizarre feeling. I was like, are we sure we know what we're doing here? We're not supposed to score. We're supposed to concede early. But yeah, no, very happy, and like you said, and it was good to see some shape and everything else that came with it, and a little bit of a style of play, which admittedly, even though I've been ultra positive up to this point of the season, it's probably the first time I've actually seen an actual style play out in front of my eyes in full viewing. I've seen
HD.
we've seen glimpses of it, but it's kind of like it's come and gone. It's kind of been in and out. But it was the first
You
time
must
where
be
I've
watching them at training or something.
You've seen the majority of the 90 minutes go, that's a style. That's a style of play. So,
right, coming in, Jonesy. Do us a favour then, right? Because I've been on at you about this since the start of the season. Describe it. Describe it now. Now you've seen it in the flesh. This thing that you were waiting to click that I've been giving you a load of grief about. Describe it to me.
See, this is where I fall down because I've never been good at discussing tactics in like.
You are a journalist, though.
Yeah,
You've literally been in football
I'm not
media
a
for.
journalist.
Right, okay.
I mean, I've so far built a career of creating transfer clickbait. So, you know, I'm honest about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So you can tell us why, like Liam Delap may go to Man United. 5 reasons why. But not.
Yeah, I could.
Not why he's good at football.
But I mean, like we were like, McKenna came out after, and a lot of people got his words like misread what he actually said. He said that we were very direct. And a lot of people went, "Oh no, we're not a long ball team. We're not a long ball team." That's not what he meant.
It did feel a little bit narky when he said that Match of the Day.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what he meant. It just meant that every time he got the ball, we wanted to go forward. And you know, we pressed at the right times. We were the high press, and it felt like the players knew where they were meant to be on the pitch, and there was no sort of holes in midfield. And every time we went forward, we looked dangerous, and the players, the combinations looked as if like the players knew what they were doing. They've been working on those combinations. That's as best you're going to get out of me from a tactical point of view.
I was going to combinations. I'm like, that sounds interesting. Like,
yeah, like like players that are playing 1-2s and doing overlaps, and and sort of getting in the right positions, and playing the ball out wide and then making runs into the box, or like making runs in and then putting it back out again, like. And I was just like, I'm enjoying watching this. I can see the players look like they're enjoying themselves for once.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pleasing. It's very pleasing. I almost forgot what it was like to win.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, 4-1 was nice. It didn't feel like a 4. It's just sort of, I don't know. I don't know. It's just a strange one. Anyway, Michael Wood has got in touch on Insta in response to my, to be honest, I just posted a photo of the London Stadium from my seat and just put back again. That's how excited I was before kickoff. He said that was funny. Great result in the end and attacking too. We are back, baby. That's from Michael Wood. Ryan Baker, oi lads, come on, surely a bit of positivity after the weekend's display. Is it me, or does the stadium just feel so flat at the moment? I know we get a lot of tourists and it's a big stadium, but I just feel as though the stadium doesn't have the buzz around it. Maybe the uncertainty as to if we're going to perform or not. Ipswich fans were up for it, and I just felt like we weren't as a fan base. I had a blast anyway, but just a thought. Yeah, to be honest, Ryan, just to touch on the atmosphere, we've touched on that quite a bit recently, Jones, haven't we? And I felt very much sort of similar at the weekend. I don't know. I think maybe from my part, I can only speak for myself. The stadium definitely is a factor. There's a tourist element. I don't think we can blame it all on tourists. I think it's easy to do that. But I think sort of, it's our own fans as well, and a bit of a sort of lack of desire, if you like. But then I suppose some of them would say it's the tourists, and then it's the chicken and the egg, really. Which one come first? And I think it's just a bit of a momentum. I think all of lots of people just go and to sit there and be entertained now, and to sit there and watch what happens rather than to feel like they're part of something. But yeah, I agree. I think the stadium does feel flat, and I think it's also, there's probably an element, and I'm talking personally now. I'm not saying I was before, but I'm just a little bit meh about the season, as I've said on the podcast, and I am going to be positive this week. I'm not just going to be facetious and play that character for the sake of it. But yeah, it sort of feels like the season's sort of done. We've got Europe to look forward to. We should be beating Ipswich, to be honest. And a bit of a naff start to the season. It's a bit like, all right, well, there's 3 points we should have definitely got. And it's still nothing spectacular. Still lots of work to do. Maybe it's that. What do you think, James?
I agree that it was a little bit flat the weekend, but mate, it would have been flat at Upton Park with Ipswich at home. You know,
Yeah, there are games like that, aren't
like
there?
Ipswich at home in a league game relatively early in the season, in a game that West Ham are expected to win, regardless of what's happened before then. It would have been flat there. I know, I look back at the famous playoff semi-final against Ipswich under the lights at Upton Park. It was one of the best atmospheres ever. But a Premier League game like that, it would have been flat at the old ground. And I think, essentially it's not going to be rocking every single game. That's just the reality of it. It's only rocking in games that are big against either big rivals or big European nights. We've had plenty of those over the last few years. I've lost count how many times I walked away at that ground with my ears still ringing, going, "What a night that was! That was unbelievable." So it's not as if like what was it 8 years? 8 years since we moved there, and we're still really struggling to create an atmosphere. It can be done. I'm less inclined to buy into the whole tourist thing because there's a hell of a lot more actual West Ham fans in that ground than tourists. And every ground has tourists. Every Premier League ground will have a lot of tourists in it. I don't think you can blame tourists for the lack of atmosphere when people are quite happy to do a city break to Barcelona and spend 20 quid on going to watch
exactly what I've done.
a new camp.
Say that, yeah.
Or go to Madrid or anywhere in Europe, and they're happy being a tourist, and it's okay for them to do it. But when it's at their club, they blame them for lack of atmosphere. I'm not saying that that comment was particularly blaming them, but I think it is a byproduct of the wider argument. So yeah, like it was a little bit flat the weekend, and I think when you go 3-1 up, and it looks very obvious that we're going to win the game, and we might score one or two more. I think naturally it just gets a bit flat because fans just like, okay, well, that's that done. It's almost a little bit of a relief.
I slightly disagree. I slightly disagree because I think,
like, unless you're battering Tottenham at home or Arsenal at home, then you go 3 or 4-1 up against Ipswich, and you kind of go, well, kind of expected this to happen. Job done. Might sing a couple more songs, but I've come to see. I've seen what I expected to see today. So happy days. As opposed to we go 4-1 up at home against Tottenham, and you're on cloud nine, you're absolutely buzzing, and you're inclined to stand on your seat and make Tottenham fans aware that you're buzzing about it.
Yeah,
I think that does play a part as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what we do about it. I just don't think you're just not going to get a rocking atmosphere every single game. It's just like it's unrealistic to expect that, I think.
Yeah. No, I quite agree, James. Yeah, I do think. I just think that's just sort of the way of it these days, a little bit. Yeah, I can't see there being any too many other ones we'll remember forever at Upton Park. But anyway, thanks to everyone who got in touch this week. Even those to give me a bit of stick. I certainly need that every now and then. So yeah, more than happy to be brought back down to earth by Mark there. Thanks to everyone else who got in touch. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram at We Are West Ham Pod. Get into the DMs over there. You can also follow us on Twitter at @WeAre_West Ham. You can send us an email, wearewesthampod@gmail.com. You can buy us a pint if you want at buymeacoffee.com/wearewestham. And is there anything else, James, people can do? I feel like I'm always forgetting one. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, of course. That is the one. Search We Are West Ham Podcast on YouTube. I would appreciate that very much. And also, hats off to Riley Casey, who said a bit of positivity back, please, this week, Pewey. So yeah, hats off to all of you who said that, and I promise I'm gonna deliver that on this week's podcast. Yeah, apologies if you're getting a bit sick and tired of my dour grumpiness around West Ham this season. Anyway, stay with us because there's obviously an international break coming up, so there'll be no Opposition View podcast this week. I'm going to England v Greece on Thursday. No Jared Bowen, unfortunately. I'll be going to that one, but on this podcast it will just be a bit of a breakdown of the Ipswich game between me and James next, and then that'll be it for a couple of weeks until we come back with an Opposition View ahead of, James, what is our next game? I should know that.
Tottenham away.
Everton? Tottenham away, of course. Yeah, a myriad of Tottenham guests available to come on Saturday, 19th of October at 12:30. So yeah, we'll have an opposition view for you. That'll be the next podcast after this one in the build up to that game. Stay with us. More of a detailed breakdown to the Ipswich game next. Right, James, where do you want to start? As you well know, I'm still on strike singing the Michail Antonio song after the away FA Cup game at Old Trafford midweek, where me and about 7,000 other West Ham fans schlepped out to Manchester only to watch Michail Antonio miss a hatful of gilt-edged chances while West Ham were playing absolutely superbly. And then only for, God, I can't remember, it was Garnacho or McTominay who got the winner for them. But a frustrating one nonetheless. But Michail Antonio, off the mark, as you said, put West Ham 1-0 up within a minute, inside a minute. At the same stage the week before, we were losing 1-0 to Brentford away. So it's nice to see West Ham be the team in the lead. Liam Delap gets his equaliser 5 minutes later, and he's just like, oh, here we go. Great finish that was, and he does look very tidy indeed. I would like him at West Ham. Mohamed Kudus on 44 minutes makes it 2-1. Jared Bowen on 49, and then Lucas Paqueta wrapped it up on 69 minutes. I think, James, it's probably fair to start with Michail Antonio because I thought he had an absolutely excellent game of football. And I don't want to already go in with finishing my complimentary sentence by going, it's because it was against Ipswich, who basically have a championship level defence. But yeah, I thought Michail Antonio was very, very good indeed. And that obviously Kudus' goal come from his header, which hit the crossbar. I thought he played very well. There you go. I've said it, and I'm not going to say anything else derogatory.
Well, Michail Antonio is the subject of my BBC column this week.
Go on. In case anyone doesn't know, just tell them about that again. Remind them what we do.
Do a weekly BBC column, normally published on a Tuesday. I submit it on a Monday. It goes out on a Tuesday on the West Ham page of BBC Sports website. So yeah, every single week without fail. Although I have been told don't submit one next week because it's an international break, but during the season, most weeks. But yeah, he is the subject. I tend not to just do a review of the game. I tend to kind of pick a talking point each week. And this week was Michail Antonio because I thought he was very good. He is now the scorer of the West Ham's fastest goal in Premier League history.
Right.
Shaved, I think it's 6 seconds off the previous quickest goal, which was Enner Valencia against Man City in 2016. I had to do a bit of research on that.
There we go. Away or at home?
At home. It was a 2-2 draw at home.
Right.
He scored both of ours, and Aguero scored there too. I barely remember the game, 2016 under Bilic. But yeah, so he's got another record. He's got a long list of records now. And I basically just say, look, if reports last week were saying that the club are probably going to be willing to listen to offers for him in January to get a bit of money for him before his contract runs out. And I was like, look, if he's had a really good game, he's back to his best almost, he's got a goal. If we are going into the last few months of his West Ham career, we've got to take a step back and really just appreciate what he's done for us since he signed in 2015. Because actually, I was doing a little bit of research, and if it wasn't for his goals towards the end of the 1920 season, we would have gone down.
Yeah.
We would have been relegated. He scored 8 in 6, including the 4 against Norwich, to keep us up. And everyone knows what happened after that. 3 consecutive years in Europe, a European trophy. So really, if it wasn't for him, we could be, it's a sliding doors moment, really. We could, God knows where we'd be. So when he leaves, if it's this January or if it's in the summer, at the end of his contract, I've said at the end of my article that I think he leaves a legend. I don't know whether you agree or not, but I think he does. West Ham's all-time Premier League goal scorer. He's now got the fastest goal at 48 seconds. Does it get beaten? Maybe eventually. He's a bit of research again. He's got more assists at London Stadium than anyone else. with 24.
Yeah.
First West Ham player to reach 100 Premier League goal contributions, goals and assists, with his assist at Brentford. First player to score a Premier League goal at the new stadium. First player to score opposing player to score at Tottenham's new ground. Records galore, and a lot of goals, and a lot of very, very important goals for us over the years. The joint record goal scorer in Europe for the club alongside Jared Bowen. So when he does leave, he'll leave with all of these memories and all of these records. And I think he does. He leaves a legend. I don't know whether anyone else agrees. I don't really care if anyone else agrees. That's what I feel. Don't get me wrong.
All right. No one's even had a go at you yet.
Incredibly frustrating. One of the most frustrating players, up there with Carlton Cole for me. One of the most frustrating players. But
he's so much better than Carlton Cole, though.
Yeah, but also one of the most lovable. Like, I don't know, I just love him. Like, as much as he angers me sometimes, he does silly things, and he never really looks like he knows what he's doing when he's in possession. Somehow he scores goals and makes it work, and just bullies defenders. And I will miss him bullying defenders when he leaves. I will. I enjoyed it so much on Saturday, watching him just take the mick out of them. It's great.
Yeah, listen. You won't hear a bad word from me about Michail Antonio's legacy at West Ham, ever. You can go back through any podcast where I've given him grief, ever. And even, to be honest, as I've made clear before, I don't aim it at him anymore, because he is trying and doing his best every single week, right? And then, seriously, and I mean that, and any podcast ever, you'll have heard me sort of having a go at him. I'll never, ever question his effort or call him lazy or that his heart's not in it. I think Michail Antonio, every single year he's been at the club, every single game, every single training session, probably whatever, has given his absolute all for West Ham United. And therefore, you'll never hear me say a bad thing about him about that. My point has been that Michail Antonio's best shouldn't have been good enough for West Ham and where we were as a club for the last probably 3 to 4 years, realistically. Maybe 3 is probably a bit more fair.
That period where he scored the 8 and 6 was probably him at his peak, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but I mean, I thought he was brilliant when he, 2015-16 at the London Stadium, he was playing right back. He was quality. He was good as a winger. I think he's a super, one of the greatest, best servants of West Ham I've seen in my lifetime. But look, you can't deny West Ham tried to replace him twice and have done again with Fulkrug this season. They tried to replace him with Sebastian Haller, didn't work out. Tried to replace him with Gianluca Scamacca, didn't work out. But there was an acknowledgement with both of those big money signings that was an area that we needed to improve. And it just so happened that the recruitment we done to replace him was terrible. And jury's still out on Fulkrug, as we know. So you will never hear me run down Michail Antonio's effort or his legacy at the club. And I almost don't think it's some games when he's getting grief, I sort of feel bad because I'm like, well, he's just doing his best. It's not his fault that West Ham haven't been able to sign better than him. Yeah, exactly. Like I almost feel bad. He should be a bench player now. He's done enough where he's sort of earned only having to do 20 minutes work a week. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Keep yourself fit, Michail. Get ready to do 20 minutes at the end when our number one striker is puffed out or whatever. Yeah. That's what his role should be. But the poor bloke still get wheeled out every week. If West Ham don't extend his contract, though, I'll be stunned. I don't think we've got it in us. What do we do if we let Michail go? We'll be absolutely snookered.
Just spend the rest of our existence playing a false nine. Just do that. I need one.
Yeah, no, exactly that, mate. But listen, respect to Michail. I thought he played really, really well at the weekend. Took his first goal really well. I think most people sort of used to seeing those ones come off his shin and going to Rosette or whatever. And then a great header And you sort of would have liked that to go in, really. Obviously, Kudus there on the spot to make it 2-1. Alphonse Areola looked a bit annoyed for Liam Delap's goal, but he took that very well. I thought he was a good player. I would like him as a Michail Antonio replacement, James. I really like Delap, and I think he's just the sort of player that West Ham need, really, perhaps more so under Moyes. Obviously, we don't know what Lopetegui wants from his front men or his midfielders or defenders or goalkeepers, to be fair. But I think Delap would have been that good replacement. He's all action, isn't he? He's rapid, he's strong, he doesn't mind getting his foot in, he can finish. I think he's a good player. Jared Bowen, James, had a much better showing, probably his best game of the season. One assist and a goal, or 2 assists and a goal. I can't remember.
Well, technically, it was 2 assists and a goal because he did assist Paqueta's, but no one's actually given him the assist, which is good. Premier League haven't given it to him. It wasn't given to him in fantasy football.
Did it graze off of someone on his way then?
Maybe. I've watched it back a lot of times and can't really. Even if it came off a defender's leg, he still crossed the ball to Paqueta. It's still meant to go to him.
He was much better.
He was much better, and I wondered whether it was because he got dropped from the England squad, and wondered whether it was a reaction to that, which would have been disappointing for him. He's made the last 3 or 4 squads, so
yeah, I feel bad for him. Yeah, I feel like Lopetegui's done that to
him. But maybe it was a reaction to go, look, well, no, I'm still here. Like, yeah, it's a mistake not doing it. I think it's good that he hasn't been called up for West Ham. Be good for him to be in and around the club as captain for the next 2 weeks, working with Lopetegui. But yeah, it was a really good game.
Right, Gaffer, what are we doing?
Yeah,
what are we supposed to be doing? We've got 2 weeks. Tell us what we are supposed to be doing. I'm the captain. I'll relay any messages. Write them down. Put them through Google Translate if you need bullets
and copy and paste them in the WhatsApp group. It was a good. He took his goal really well. Seen him score goals like that quite a lot of them, where he's sort of running down the right, cutting on his left-hand boot. Left-hand boot. You know what I mean?
Boot. Left foot boot.
Left foot boot. Left foot hand. Much better. Led as a captain, led from the front. Very happy to see it.
Yeah, Paqueta, thought he played well. He's had a bit of stick recently. I mean, basically everyone played well. What I would say, I'm really delighted to see. I feels like Thomas Souček is doing being the new Mark Noble. You know, Noble was like, yeah, look, I played under 9 West Ham managers, and all of them kept me in the team. I played under all of them and proved my value to all of them time and time again. I feel like Thomas Souček last couple of games, he's really doing nice one for trying to drop me, Julian. You won't be doing that again in a hurry, son. Because I thought he was really good. I mean,
I wasn't. I expected Souček to start, but I did not expect Rodriguez to play alongside him. I thought it'd be Alvarez, and I was a bit like, oh my god, what's Rodriguez got on Lopetegui that we don't know about? Because how the hell has he started? But give him his due. I thought he played probably his best game in a West Ham shirt. Still a little bit behind the play out of possession, but on the ball, tidy midfielder. I've always said that he's decent in possession. Maybe he's just finally getting up to pace with it. I was a little bit frustrated that it was him alongside Souček, but they did okay. But Souček, class. I want to see him starting every week.
Me too, mate. Me too. He's got a load of grief for that the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, thing is, I think his passing's improved as well. Not once so far this season. Stop passing the ball, Thomas.
Just head it to someone and be done with it.
Even if you have to get down on your knees, just head it. But yeah, he looks a lot better, passing the ball, spraying it about. He was great. But the one player that I was incredibly impressed with was Todibo.
Mate, he was so good at Brentford. He's mustard, isn't he? Yeah.
See, I didn't see him at Brentford, and we've been raving about how good Delap is. He had Delap in his pocket. He dealt with Delap so well. There's a number of times where Delap was going to hold the ball up and Todibo just took it off his toes and just ran off of it. Yeah. He's cut above. it's just really unfortunate. It's taking him a little bit of time to get into the starting 11. But I don't want to see him go anywhere now. I'm so glad we've got that obligation to buy, because he's class. A really, really good centre half. There's no wonder Juventus were desperate for him.
Yeah. That quality little run he did as well when he just picked up the ball. Just thought, I'll just take a few people on here, and you could tell, right? He played a 1-2. Yeah, they just like showed the ball to the defender. Yoink nicked it inside. I think you give it to Paqueta, and he went to play the 1-2, and then he was like, "Well, hang on a minute, no." Yeah. And then he sort of bottled it. But I would have loved that. I said, carry on, son. Get up there, get on the pitch.
No, he's class. Absolute class. And he dealt with Delap, because Delap's physical, but he's athletic as well. He's quick. And I thought he dealt with him really well. Because on one of the Ipswich podcasts, they were like, Delap's really strong. He's a strong striker. He's a bit of a beast. Do you think your centre halves are going to be able to handle it? And I was like, well, the more physical out of them is Kilman. So Kilman will sort him out. But it was actually Todibo that was on him, and he dealt with it really well. So, yeah, very, very impressed. Very, very impressed.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant, mate. And old Mo Kudus as well. Like I was saying, I was sort of starting to creep in. He had a bit of the, obviously not as bad, but he was starting to get a bit of the old Ben Ramas about him when it's like any danger of a goal or an assist, mate. So I suppose nice to get him on the score sheet and done that. I'm not sure how I feel about that celebration, Like, I mean, like, maybe I don't know if I'm a bit over it now, or I prefer it when he sits on the actual advertising boards rather than the ball boy stall.
I like it, but I think you have to save those ones for when you score a worldie. Like when he first did it,
not ahead of him 2 yards.
It was against Freiburg when he ran the pitch, he beat like 5 players and scored. It was like, yeah, you've warranted playing it up a little bit on that one.
Yeah,
but scoring a free header from 2 yards out after it's hit the bar, it's like, mate, just low key. But I think he did it because obviously he's finally off the mark for the season.
After he'd missed an absolute sitter.
Yeah, he hit the post from that sitter, yeah. Although I noticed that the lino had his flag up straight after that. So even if he had scored, it probably would have been ruled out.
Oh, really? Fine.
But yeah, he did miss that one. But yeah, that's good to see him off the mark. Hopefully that gives him the confidence to go on and bag another 15 or whatever he did last year.
Yeah, great. Kalvin Phillips. Lol.
I've got 2 things to say on Kalvin Phillips. First one, it was his misplaced pass that led to the opener.
I know. Literally inside like 30
seconds. It's almost a carbon copy of when Zuma did the same thing to him against Bournemouth on his debut, about a minute into his debut.
Yeah, but that wasn't really Phillips' fault, was it? I feel like this one was.
But everyone blamed Phillips for it.
Yeah.
Everyone blamed, and so then this time, a minute into him coming back to the stadium, he does the same thing, and we score from it. And I was like, I feel so sorry for him. The second thing,
did you?
No, the second thing I want to say, because he come over and took quite a lot of corners where we are, and the boos he was getting, and I'm like, look, he had a really bad time at West Ham.
Yeah.
But you can't boo him. Like, the bloke was laughing every time he ran over. You could tell that he was a little bit like baffled by the fact that West Ham fans were booing him, but also like laughing at it.
Yeah.
But I was like looking around, there's people going, "Oh, they're booing at him," like sticking their fingers up at him, and I'm like, okay, he wasn't very good for us. He made a couple of mistakes. I think he was very unlucky with a lot of them. Like the penalty at Newcastle wasn't his fault. The 2 yellow cards
thrown into the fray too soon as well.
Yeah, like the 2 yellow cards at Nottingham Forest, very, very harsh.
Yeah.
So, and the Zuma one I've just mentioned wasn't his fault. Everyone blamed him for it.
Definitely weren't his fault. Yeah.
So he was unlucky, really. And every time one of those things happened that weren't his fault, but everyone blamed him for it, just knocked his confidence even further to the point where he'd just given up, essentially.
Do you think
I just found it harsh.
Do you think the middle finger to the fans when getting on the bus was part of that? I mean, I thought that was personally like mad because like grown men waiting outside a stadium to shout abuse at I just thought that part was odd. And I don't mind that at all. Like I never sort of think when footballers react, I just think, yeah, fair enough. Like, people just giving you constant grief. You're a human being. You're allowed to turn around and tell someone to do one if you want. But do you think that's part of the reaction?
Maybe. But if you can't accept the fact that the geezer's a human being, and is going through a bit of a difficult time. His mental health issues were well documented. Even before he arrived at the club, it was well documented that he was struggling mentally and with his confidence. And he'd had a really tough time at City. And then, 5 games into his West Ham career, he's already been blamed for 2 goals and given away a penalty and getting sent off unfairly and stuff. And then you got grown men screaming it in your face and telling you you're rubbish and all sorts. It's like, no wonder he's reacted. If geezer come up to you at work that you don't even know and start screaming that you're rubbish at your job, you'd react, wouldn't you?
That actually happens more than you think.
Yeah, well, no comment. But yeah, like, if you're really upset about a footballer reacting to a load of other people telling him that he's not very good at football, then probably need to have a little rethink. I think you can't be upset with that. You can't be upset with that. Fair play to him. But yeah, I just felt a little bit sorry for him with the booings. I just don't think he deserved to be booed. There are players that do deserve to be booed. But he isn't one of them. No, he's not even one of them either, mate. Like, you can boo him in your mind. I think under your breath or something. But yeah, not Phillips. I felt sorry for him. But I did laugh with that misplaced pass. I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah, he did get a bit heckled when he got subbed off as well. And lastly, James, Ben Johnson. I didn't really it didn't really click that he was playing, to be honest. At the beginning, I didn't see the Ipswich team sheet or anything before. What did you make of his performance?
It's a bizarre one because he left us because he wanted first team football.
He can't get in their team.
And everyone went, yeah, fair play, Ben. Like, you're not really going to get it here, so fair play, off you go. And everyone respected him for it. And he went to Ipswich, and everyone thought, that's a good move. Newly promoted team, he'll get in there too.
Yeah, it felt the good one, didn't it?
He started the first game of the season against Liverpool. And just I think that was his second start of the season against us. And it's only because Tuanzebe's injured. He was okay. He put in the same level of performance that he used to put in for us, really, like relatively safe, relatively solid. Didn't really put a foot wrong. But it was good to see him get good reception. And I saw a video of him, I think, warming up before the game, and a couple of kids were calling out his name from the West Ham side, and he sort of went over and sort of gave him a thumbs up and stuff like that. So, he'll always be welcome back, when he's a player that would just never get booed because he was just so indefensive. Like, one of our the youth academy products. Like, good luck to him. Just a shame that he's left for first team football and he's back on the bench.
And then can't get a sniff. I imagine the increase in wages will be somewhat consolation for him. All right then, James. I think that's pretty much about it. West Ham, then, we're 12th, exactly bang on where I suspected we were and are going to come this season. I don't want to finish. This isn't a negative note, right? I'm just going to update people. No, it's not a negative. All I will say is I'm pleased we won. I'm glad we won. We should be beating Ipswich, definitely. I enjoyed us scoring 4 goals. That was nice. Unfortunately, I'm not sort of full of confidence now that when we come up against Tottenham, or not even teams as sort of good as Tottenham, albeit they've only got 2 extra points than we have. But the sort of teams, the Newcastles, the Brightons, we've played Villa already, obviously, and Fulham we've played. We've got Forest not long after. We're above Man United, which I suppose is good. But I'm not brimming with confidence based on what I've seen that when we play those sides, whatever, the style of football that got us past Ipswich is necessarily going to catapult us on. But I enjoyed us winning 4-1. Like, do you think that's a fair and reasonable mindset to have?
I think I get it. Like, a 4-1 over Ipswich shouldn't then suddenly make you think, well, we're going to qualify for Europe this year. Just beat Ipswich 4-1. I understand. Like, it's good. It looks like it's beginning to click, and that was visible. Like, the proof now is whether they can carry that on. And it doesn't mean to say now you've got to go and win every game, but like that level and that style's kind of got to still be evident in every game now. You're going to come up against better teams that are going to beat you, but we need to now see that level every single week. And if we do, then we'll win more than we lose. I'm sure of it. But it's got to be a bit of consistency now. It's just a shame that it's now Tottenham and Man United up next. Actually, less so Man United. Yeah, don't forget I said that. It's just a shame it's Tottenham away next. Yeah. I'll be a little bit more confident if it's Tottenham at home. But Tottenham away, but they're beatable. I mean, they squandered a 2-goal lead at the weekend, which was hilarious.
It was pretty funny, wasn't it?
I laughed when the third goal went in, and Harrison asked me why I was laughing. And I had to explain. I explained to him everything about it, the reason why.
Yeah.
And
Did he find it funny now?
He understood, and he started laughing too.
Brilliant.
So good lad. So yeah. But yeah, like they're beatable. But I really wish it was Ipswich again, just to kind of keep that momentum going.
Well, look, I got a lot of grief, right, for being negative, and I have done on the podcast so far this season. I would also caveat that with, well, I said we're going to come 12th, we're coming 12th. And I also said there's a chance we only get 10 points from the first 10 games of the season. We've played 7 now. Our next 3 are Tottenham, Manchester United, then Nottingham Forest away. Forest are sort of quietly going about a bit of business. I think it's like ugly and just bullies, and Chelsea fans are up in arms after that game at the weekend for time wasting all sorts. But it feels like that's on. I'm almost a bit like hesitant to go, well, maybe I was right. Like, do you know what I mean? I am pleased we beat Ipswich. But I still think we're going to come 12th and get 10 points after 10 games.
I don't know. It might be 10 points after 10 games. 12. I don't know. It's still too early to say, mate. We're 7 games in. Like you can't say it. But
if you had to say now, where do you think we'll come?
11th.
Yeah, sorry everyone for not being quite as positive as James Jones there, by predicting we'll come one place lower down than he thinks we'll come. Dear. Right, that's about it for another week. Don't forget, international break, so no podcasts from me and Jonesy until the week leading up to the Tottenham game. Don't know who the guest will be yet, but we've got a myriad of Tottenham Hotspur fans and friends of this podcast available to come on and talk about that big game away at Tottenham, which I am very much looking forward to attending. I say that, it does feel like it's got humping written all over it. But look, I'm gonna postpone any such sentiments until the opposition view in the build up to that game. James, before we say goodbye, probably you got any final thoughts? Anything to add? General thoughts and feelings, musings on West Ham? Although I feel like we've covered quite a lot.
No, I think we've covered off everything that I wanted to say. Yeah, I think we've covered it. That was a good review.
It was. I enjoyed it very much so. Thanks everyone for getting in touch over the last week or so. I hope I was positive enough for you all this week. God forbid. I certainly don't want to be upsetting anyone again with my dour, grumpy, miserable approach to West Ham this season. But smile on my face after we've beaten Ipswich 4-1. James Jones thinks the beacon of positivity thinks we're going to hit the heady heights of 11th this season, while Misery Guts Pew thinks we're going to finish in the doldrums, a whole one place behind Jonesy in 12th. Thanks for listening, everyone. 4-1 win over Ipswich. Lovely. Do follow us on socials at @WeAre_West Ham on Twitter. We Are West Ham Pod on Instagram. We Are West Ham Podcast on YouTube. You can buy us a pint at buymeacoffee.com/WeAreWest Ham. You can email us at wearewesthampod@gmail.com. I think that is everything. Please do make sure you do one of those things. Go and follow us on a social platform that you don't already, particularly the YouTube channel. If you subscribe to that, that will be good. Thanks for listening, everyone. West Ham are massive. Up the hammers, and we'll speak to you after the international break.